now. Good morning and welcome to Thursday. You will need a mat, possibly some blocks, a blanket, a bolster to boost up your hips if that feels good. We're going to start with a nice comfortable seat, crossed leg on your mat, the eyes shut, and we're just going to start to notice the breath. It comes in through the nose, past the throat, down into the belly, and back out again. And during your yoga practice today, I'm going to ask you to extend those inhales and exhales, and that will better allow you to find length and more strength in your yoga practice. Let's try that together. Big inhale. Exhale, sigh. Again, inhale. Exhale, sigh. Another thing that I notice students tend to do is they really try to hold in their belly on that inhale. Don't do that. Let that belly come out. Fill it with air. Yoga is just about being on your mat with your body and not about looking a certain way or a perfect pose. Sitting up nice and tall. Interlace those fingertips over your head. Big inhale. Exhale, really stretching up towards the ceiling. Tilting that chin up. Good. Coming over to the side. And as we warm up that lower and upper spine and your neck, I want you to go ahead and set an intention for your practice today. It can be a word, a phrase, a goal. I had a student yesterday who her intention was to buy a cheesecake after class. And I loved that. When you set an intention for yoga, you're doing your yoga with purpose, on purpose. If you find your mind starting to wander during the practice, come back to that intention over and over again. Good. Shoulder rolls. Long breaths in and out. And forward. Good. Back and forth. Inhale. And exhale. On the exhales, they're going to be exhaling through your nose, and you're going to put a light constriction on your throat so that it sounds like this. Inhale. Exhale. Hear that sound? Inhale. Exhale. And shake it out. If you have anything on your mat, clear it. We're going to actually roll onto our backs and tuck our knees into our chest. Excuse me, buddy. Give that spine a rock back and forth. Really massaging that lower spine and then all the way up to the upper spine. Then let the soles of the feet come down to the mat and let your knees fall naturally over to the right. Take your arms out like a T. This is just like a nice gentle twist on the hips, the lower back. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Hug those knees back into the chest. Give them a nice squeeze. Let the soles of the feet come down and the knees are going to fall over to the left. The arms are going to open up like a T. Long breaths in and out. Good. Knees back into the chest. Then let the soles of the feet come down to the mat. Your knees are going to butterfly out. I want you to take your arms up and overhead so that it's palm up, really stretching out that back. Loosen that jaw. Take a few deep breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Hugging those knees back in to your little ball and then roll to a seated position. We're going to come onto all fours. So again, if there's anything on your mat, like a dog, clear it off. or a cat. Your fingertips wide, you're going to stack those hips right over those knees. With your wrists, they're going to be externally rotated just a little bit out. On the inhale, you're going to drop that belly, arch that back. On the exhale, pushing all the air out around that spine. Inhale, arch. And exhale, round, pushing all that air out. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. In. And out. The nice neutral spine and neck. Let's do some figure eights with the hips. Just starting to get some movement there. Soft elbows. Sinking back to the mat. And back up again. Then you're going to take a long breath in. You're going to tuck those toes. We're going to go into our first downward facing dog. As you lift those hips, I want you to keep the knees soft and slightly bent. And then start pedaling out those feet. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. One more in. And out. You're going to take your knees to the mat. They're going to go wide. Your big toes are going to touch behind you. You're going to sink those hips back, really reaching the fingertips forward for child's pose. Staying here in child's pose for several breaths. Child's pose is one of those poses that's always here for you. If you need a break, if you're out of breath, if you need to slow it all down, come down into child's pose. Coming back to that intention you set. Long breath in. And out. Inhale. And exhale. You should be feeling your hips widening a little bit. And out. Inhale, coming to all fours. Stack those hips right over the knees. Deep breath in. Tuck those toes. Lift those hips. Downward facing dog. You can pedal out those feet still some. Good. Then pouring all of the weight into your left foot. I want you to take your right leg to the sky. You can stay right here. This is perfect. Or if you want to, you can stack those hips on top of each other and then bend that knee, opening it up to the side. Long breaths in and out. One more. And squaring those hips. Take that right foot back down to the mat. Downward facing dog. Pouring all the weight into the right foot, taking that left leg to the sky. This is 3-leg dog. You can stay right here, or you can stack those hips on top of each other, bend that knee, opening up that hip to the side. Long breaths. One more. Square those hips, take that foot back down, downward facing dog. And I want you to take baby steps towards the top of your mat. Bending those knees as you get there. Catch opposite elbows and just hang like a rag doll. Good. Release those hands down and slowly come rolling to a standing position. One vertebrae at a time. Your shoulders are going to come last. Up, back, and down. Go ahead and shake it out. I'm going to go over to Tadasana. Tadasana is your standing pose. It's how we begin and end every vinyasa in almost every yoga practice. Your feet are going to be hip width distance apart. You're going to imagine that your feet are a rectangle. Your toes are the top corners. Your heels are the back corners. So playing around with those corners, really finding the most balanced spot for you. And then even though it looks just like we're standing here, we're actually standing here with intention and purpose. We're tightening our thighs a little bit. We're standing nice and tall, like a string is pulling our head up. So our chin is straight and parallel to the floor. On the inhale, swing those arms up, take the gaze up to the sky. Exhale, folding over, bend those knees, take your hands to your heart center. Folding all the way down. Grab blocks here if you need them. Inhale, lengthen that spine to a tabletop. On the exhale, I want you to place your palms down, step back left, then right into a plank. This is too much. Take those knees down. In fact, let's all take the knees down. Untuck those toes flat on the mat. And then slowly lowering your belly to the mat. Really try to tuck those elbows into your side as you do it. All the way to your belly. Take your cheek to the mat and give those hips a rock back and forth. Good. Placing those palms underneath the shoulders. Inhale up to a baby cobra. Just taking the top of the chest off the mat. And back down. Inhale up, baby cobra. Exhale down. Inhale up, baby cobra. Exhale down. This time all the way up to upward facing dog. Full belly, top of the thighs off the mat. Really pressing down with those fingertips. All the way back down. Inhale, upward facing dog. And back down. Last one, inhale, upward facing dog. And back down. Go ahead and pop your head up so that you can see me. On upward facing dog, what we're eventually working towards, the expression we're working towards is not just the upper thighs being off the mat, but our whole legs, so that the only points of contact you have are your feet and your hands. And talking and doing this is very hard. It's a brutal pose, but that's what you're eventually working towards. So as you're doing these, maybe play with pushing all the way up. Everyone all the way down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Tuck those toes, lift those hips, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Taking baby steps to the top of the mat. You're going to roll to a stand. Good. Shoulders come last. Go ahead and shake it out. Grab water if you need it. Every now and then I'll get a student in the gym who will ask me if they have permission to go to the bathroom or get water. I'm like, please, this is yoga. You can do whatever you want. It's not so serious. Standing nice and tall in Tadasana. Inhale, swing those arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Placing those fingertips on the mat. Inhale, lengthen that spine. Good job, buddy. Exhale, place those palms on the mat. Step back to a plank. Hovering here for a moment. Take it to your knees if you need to. And then slowly lowering all the way onto your belly. Inhale, upward facing dog. Tuck those toes, lift those hips, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Pedal out those feet. Take those knees to the mat. They go wide. Press back to a child's pose. Resting here for 5 breaths. Two more. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. and exhale. Inhale, coming to all fours, stacking those hips right over those knees. Tuck those toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Baby steps, top of the mat. And rolling to a stand. Good, shake it out. Then go into our warrior series. Standing nice and tall in Tadasana. Feet hip width distance apart. You're gonna step that right foot back. The foot's gonna be at a 45 to your mat. You're gonna square those hips to the front of your mat, bending that left knee. I want it to be stacked right over the ankle, not farther than. The arms are gonna come up. This is warrior one. Several breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. On the inhale, give it a slight rise. Exhale, rebend that knee. Inhale, slight rise. Exhale, bend that knee. Two more, in and out. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful. Inhale, straightening that front knee, opening the arms up. We're going to set up for warrior two. You might need to lengthen your stride just a little bit. Your gaze is going to be over these front fingertips. You're going to rebend that front knee. Again, knee right over that ankle. Give that back arm a glance. Make sure that it's flying parallel to the floor and not high or low. Now with warrior two, you really want to center your weight. So you don't want to pitch too forward or too back, right in the middle. Couple more breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, straighten that front knee, flip the palm, and then take the warrior back. Really reaching for that ceiling. And stretching out that whole side. Inhale, your arms swing. For this next one, you're gonna rock your hips to the back of the mat. You're really gonna be reaching towards the front of the mat as you pivot to triangle. Your left hand can be on your shin, your thigh, all the way to the floor. Whatever gives you the most space in this pose. And again, really rocking that hip back and reaching forward will give you that shape. The gaze can be straight or it can be up to that hand. But with all of these poses, no straining, no sharp pain. A little bit of tension, a little bit of exertion is beautiful. Inhale, the arms swing up. We're gonna rebend that front knee and the arms are gonna swing again. The left hand can be on the thigh, the shin, or all the way to the floor. This is side angle. And because of the twist here, it's a little more intense than triangle is. Go ahead and look down at that left foot. I want you to take both hands, place it on the inside of that foot, pop that back heel up, and adjust for a low runner's lunge. And again, check that that knee, mine was a little too far, is stacked right over that ankle. Give that back knee a bend, hop that back foot forward about a foot, and then you're gonna fold over both of those legs. If you need blocks here so that you can keep those legs straight, it's the perfect moment to have blocks or something that brings the floor up to you. Two more breaths here. Staying folded over, go ahead and step that right foot to the left foot, bend both of those knees, swing the arms up. This is chair pose. With chair pose, you're going to be engaging a lot of things, not just your thighs. Engage that core, engage those glutes, really reaching out. One more breath here. And exhale. Inhale, straightening up, shaking it out. We're going to do chair pose again. We're going to do a twist. We're working core and upper body this week. So again, standing nice and tall, Bend both those knees. Swing the arms up. Chair pose. Long breath. And out. Inhale. Take your hands to heart center and then twist over your shoulder. You can stay right here. If you want more of a twist, extend that lower hand to the floor and that upper hand to the sky. Good. Hands come back to heart center. And we straighten those legs. Shake it out. I'm going to do the other side. Nice and tall. Tadasana. Inhale. Swing those arms. Bend those knees. Taking the hands to heart center. Twist over the other shoulder. You can stay right here, or you can extend those arms out. One more breath here. Good. Hands back to heart center. Straighten those legs. Shake it out. Grab water. We're going to do the warrior series on the other side. Exactly. Scooch, scooch, scooch. Good job. Standing nice and tall on your mat. Tadasana. You're going to take that left foot back. It's going to be at a 45. Squaring the hips to the front of the mat. Bending that right knee. Squaring that knee right over that ankle. Arms are going to come up. This is warrior one. Good. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, slight rise, straightening that leg. Exhale, rebend that knee. Inhale, slight rise. Exhale, bend that knee. Two more. In. And out. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, straightening that front knee. Opening the arms up. We're going to set up a warrior two. Maybe lengthening that stride just a little bit. Gaze over the front fingertips. Bending that knee right over that ankle. Give that arm a glance. Make sure it's parallel to the floor. And really squaring your weight right over the middle so you're not pitched forward or back and putting unnecessary strain on those knees. Couple breaths here. One more. Inhale, straighten that front knee, flip the palm, and take the warrior back to the sky. Inhale, the arms swing up. Rock those hips to the back of your mat, really reaching towards the front of your mat as we pivot to triangle on the other side. Again, your right hand in the thigh, the shin, all the way to the floor, whatever gives you the space in this pose. Two more breaths here. Last one, in and out. Inhale, swing those arms. Rebend that front knee. Swing the arms again. Hand to the thigh, the shin, or all the way to the floor for side angle. Look down at that right foot. Place both hands on the inside of it. Pop that back heel up. Low runner's lunge. Bending that back foot, hop it forward about a foot. You're going to fold over both legs. Pyramid. And again, if you need blocks, go ahead and grab them now. One more breath here. Staying folded over, step that back foot to the front foot, bend both of those knees, swing the arms up, chair pose. And straighten, shake it out, grab water. We're gonna go into our balancing series. Setting up for tree pose. You're gonna take your right foot or left foot, you're gonna do both sides, to your inner calf, the knee, all the way up to the upper thigh, wherever you have the best balance. I think for most of us, it's gonna be calf. Hands are gonna be at heart center, or if you have the balance all the way to the sky, pick a spot on the floor that's not moving, and really tightening up that core. And trying to hold it on each side for 5 of your own breaths. Beautiful. And then taking it down, shake it out, switch to the other side. Foot on the calf, the knee, or the upper thigh. If it's on the knee, don't put a lot of pressure on it. Our knees are fragile. Hands to heart center. Once you find that balance, up to the sky. Balancing poses are so great because they work everything inadvertently. We unconsciously make all these little adjustments with them. And taking it down, shake it out. Warrior 3, standing nice and tall in Tadasana. Gonna tap that right toe back. Gonna hinge at the hips. Your hands can stay on your hips, heart center, out like wings, or forward. It's whatever gives you the most balance. I found for me this week, forward works best. So you lift that toe, hinging at the hips, find a spot that's not moving, and then take an arm variation that works for your body. And since we're just starting Warrior 3, 3 breaths here. Good, and coming back up. Shaking it out, switch to the other side, tap that left toe back, hinging at those hips, pick a spot that's not moving. Good, taking it down, shake it out. We're gonna come all the way down from the mat, sitting, her legs are extended in front of you. Sitting up nice and tall. Taking those arms up to the sky and just folding over. To your ability, you can be at your thigh, your shin, all the way to your toes. Now while we're here, grab those ankles, pull those feet in so that the soles touch and your knees are butterflied out. And then again, sitting up nice and tall, deep breath in. As you exhale, use those elbows to press gently down on those knees. Really widening those hips. Two more breaths here. Last one. Inhale, coming up. From here, we're going to start working on boat pose. We're just going to play with the shape today. So I want you to sit. Your soles are going to be on the mat. Knees are bent. Your hands are going to come behind you. I just want you to start to play with lifting those toes off the mat. Really tightening that core like you would in a crunch. Maybe lifting both at the same time, coming down. Just light little taps. Good. And then both at the same time, just for a couple moments. And down. Both up. Good. And down. And if you'd like to try the full pose, both toes up, you're going to extend both hands out to your sides, really tightening that core. This is a really brutal one. Holding it for 2 breaths. Good. Hug those knees, rock onto your back. Massage that back out. Good. Rock to a seat. We're going to try that one more time. Taking both those toes up, you can totally keep your hands on the mat, or you can try the full expression with the hands out to the side. 2 breaths. Beautiful. Hug those knees, rock onto the back. Really rock out that spine. Good. Then using your 3 first fingers, catch those big toes. Open up those hips. This is called happy baby. And again, you can give that spine a gentle sway. Hugging those knees into the chest. And continuing working our core a little bit. Take the soles of the feet down to the mat. Inch those heels towards your butt. And then pressing up, lift those hips up. You can stay right here, or you can inch those shoulder blades together underneath and interlace the fingers. Long breaths in and out, really tightening that core and your glutes. Don't let your thighs do all the work here. Inhale, take those hips up a little bit higher. Exhale, release all the way to the mat. Windshield wiper those knees back and forth. Two more. Plant those feet, inch those heels towards your butt. Lift the hips up to the sky. Make sure you're not straining your jaw. Loosen that tongue. Long breaths in and out. Hips up a little bit higher. Release all the way. Roll all those vertebrae down to the mat. Knees go side to side. Last one. Plant those feet. Inch those heels back towards your butt. Lift those hips up to the sky. And as we're here, come back to that intention you set. Come back to that breath. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, hips a little higher. Exhale, roll all the way down. Windshield wiper those knees back and forth. Hug both those knees into the chest. Give them a squeeze. Then holding on to your right knee, you're going to extend that left leg all the way down to the mat. And using your left hand, guide that right knee across the body. Your back and your butt will come off the mat, opening up the right arm like a wing. Few more breaths here. Both knees come back into the chest. Give them a squeeze. Hold on to that left knee. Extend the right leg all the way to the mat. Take that knee across the body. Open up the opposite arm like a wing. Inhale and exhale. Last one, in and out. Inhale, tuck those knees back into the chest for the last time, giving them a squeeze. Gently letting the soles of the feet come to the mat and extending those feet to the corners of the mat. Taking the hands alongside your body, on your belly, wherever is most comfortable for you. And I want you to take a couple moments to consciously relax. We tend to hold a ton of tension in our lower body, in our neck and our jaw. Let the eyes shut and let go of those big inhales and exhales. Just breathing naturally. You've done all of the work. Now you get to let the floor support you. I'm just lying here for a few moments. If you find your mind starting to wander, come back to that intention that you set at the beginning of practice and your breath and how your body feels. Yoga is such a beautiful union of how we feel and our physical being, emotional and physical. And I'll call you out of this when it's time. Slowly coming back. Moving those fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. Taking the arms overhead, big good morning stretch. Then leaving that right arm up, curl onto your right side, cushioning your head with that arm. And when you're ready, making your way to a seated position, legs are crossed, hands on the knees, sitting nice and tall. I'm going to take 2 breaths together to close the class. Big inhale. Exhale, sigh. Inhale. Exhale, sigh. Namaste. Thank you for being here. I hope to see you in the next class. Please drink your water, get your sleep. You might be a little sore, especially in the core area. Getting lots of protein, personal care, all of that stuff.